Hello once again, and well met, friends. This next sequence depicts some key events in our story, but it also concludes, for Mythos 3 at least, the appearances of the Exyle's parents, most notably Galantine, Aurelia, and John Lockmore. They are first introduced in Mythos 1, titled Mythic, Prelude to Exile. It is the story of how John, a human young man, comes to meet an Alnian, Quilvian young woman and the adventure they are thrust into. They are closely joined by Galantine and Notch, Tybane's father, as well. In the annals of the Knights Exiyar, this story material is what commences the cycles of the exiles themselves. Though these characters will be absent for a bit, they are crucial to the overall arc of our long story, and will return again in due time, which is why I took the opportunity now to introduce them, if only briefly. So, with no further delay, let's swiftly return to the present tale and continue on in Sequent 4. Tybane pops his head from round the corner of an empty, silent passage. He moves into the corridor. Behind him follow Thiel, Delias, Parian, and, lastly, Eliscar. From his golden braided hair emerges something like a tiny chipmunk. It crawls down his neck along his brown arm. Among the good leaders, now only several levels above them, Eliscar's father, Linax, speaks of his son's always gentle and giving heart, how he once gashed a leg, saving a Crimpire beast from a foaming wild wint. Crimpires and wild wints were two of the many newly appearing deadly creatures to appear among the outer edges of Thracia these last few years, likely to have crawled out from some dark, dank place. Tending to these creatures, Eliscar's own pain meant little. His compassion compelled him to save the otherwise devilish beasts using his healing and shapeshift gifts, abilities rare among his kin. Linax lastly adds how he and Chia, his wife, remain ever faithful. Eliscar will mature to embrace Vair's traditions of diplomacy and peace. Below, Tybane leads the five of them along a twisting stone stair. Their feet lightly tap upon the rock into one corridor and out another. They pass a window, where it is now strangely dark outside. Parian glares, confused, wondering where the three Onia moons are now, always clearly visible each night. At a new turn, Tybane halts. Delias casts a jittery glance, admitting out loud, they shouldn't be doing this. It can only lead to trouble. Tybane stands thinking. The others watch him, mostly Parian, who guesses correct. Tybane is lost. Parian angrily asks Ty, is this a joke? Tybane tells him to shut up and be still. Parian states to the rest of them that Ty doesn't have any idea where he's going. Don't make me kick you in the head, Ty replies. It's dark. Let me think. There's a sudden approaching noise. Everyone tenses, till Brage now appears round a corner, frowning. He tells Tybane to stop making all this up and to quit it. He adds that he would surely know if another Aelith were hidden within these walls. But Ty insists they're close now. One more level down. Past the smithy, then across... Wait, interrupts Brage. The smithy? Oh no, hold on, he says. He told you where this key is. You listened to his stories. Whose stories? Asks Thiel. Whose? Brage answers. And Barsetal's sweet, lunatic blacksmith. Ty protests. He's not a lunatic. Brage is wrong. Brage admits that the dwarf can make a great sword or spear, but who? Eliscar asks. Feshcrift, says Ty. He has a name. Brage asks exactly what did Mad Feshcrift tell him. He showed it to me, admits Ty. About a year ago. Another etherical key. One that's been hidden. Course he did, says Brage, who knew well enough of the time Tybane spends with the dafty Dwaric loon. A dwarf is a bearded, short-of-stature craftsman similar to a dwarf, but thinner, with outer flesh almost as hard as stone. In fact, they are born within solid rock and can only truly die in stone once again. Their extended lifespans are also lived out in reverse. Angry now himself, Brage adds that Feshcrypt talks and talks in his smithy and fills Tybane's head with nothing good, usually claiming to anyone who will listen how the dwarf blacksmith knows all about spell-enchanted weapons. But Tybane is angry too. He tells Brage to clamp his royal mouth shut and let him prove it. Yes, prove it. That's what we're waiting for, replies the jittery and anxious Delias. We're going to get caught by the sentries, I know it. Back up top now, the Ravenspur Marshal's voice is heard speaking. Delias is our sharp-witted warrior, he says. He's a jumpy lad, but boasts the potent speed of his kin. He dreams to someday cleanly outpace a Ulicor in a grand race. But he is third branch male-born, so we fear of his possible affliction. Yet, so far, thankfully, nothing. Affliction? Asks Aurelia. Yes, replies the marshal, still picking at a remaining plate of fine brasserie and pastry-flaked bread. Ever since the siege of Imbarcetal, 500 years passed, where scores of Ravenspur were taken as slaves and spell-tortured. Some were rescued later, but as a result of their torments, many third-branch Raven males are born to impending madness. Some claim the malady changes their eye colors and grants sight into the future. Or just illusion. But it's no delusion now, as the 6 childlings below skulk ahead, that eyes peer out from the shadows. Many eyes, savage and feral, red with yellow pupils, grolts. But they don't yet attack, waiting to see where these young ones will lead. Tybane does just that, down more passages and a stair. They pass the large smithy Ty spoke of, now only silent furnaces and tools. Then they come to a long, straight corridor of highly ornamental stone, dimly lit. That's a sight, says Thyle, with a soft whistle. This is it, says Tybane. The passage is lined with statues on either side, venerable, heroic figures of some past courtly nobility. Brage points out that these are the memorials of the elder hosts, the Arsentians. Tybane removes a small tool from his tunic shirt. We'll need eyes to look out, he says. Brage points to Perian and Thyle. Perian, he says, and you too, Calypsis. The young Marimer answers that his parents named him Thyle. Brage shakes his head, eyeing the now working breathing scars on Thyle's cheeks. Sea folk out of water, Brage condescends. Keep watch and keep quiet. In the main hall above, Cygnus, Thyle's father, offers his take on his son. Ever the curious one, Thyle is steadfast in his belief he's lived past lives. He often wished to come forth from the oceans and meet the land-dwellers. He's oft spun tales to other young mariners of his imagined adventures above sea, particularly with those he's been rejoined with from some long-ago past. Next to him, Vaughn clenches a fist, proclaiming he'll soon be a great warrior. Tybane moves behind a statue. He works his tool on a section of rock, digging, outlining a shape. Delias gazes at these memorials, asking out loud, who were they? Did they all die? Brage scowls, asking if Delias was ever taught the annals, how all of the wide Isthmus was nearly once poisoned. Delias admits, if so, he forgot. Isthmus history never thrilled him. Brage frowns, walks away toward Tybane. Elisgar steps up. The Arsentian high hosts, he clarifies, those who created all the myriad-wide Isthmus, the universe itself, long ago, descending from the heavens upon shooting stars to capture the wicked Pyrarch, and then cast her into an abyss below her own creation, the Voracle. Obsiphius. The Pyrarch Obsiphius is the root, the source of all the world's woes. It is she who has then and now brought the corruptive, wicked, and demonic days to myriad serene peace. She was once Vymeria, one of the lesser Arsentian high hosts, until she stole the etherical keys to first forge and then open a mid-air gateway suspended over an abyss known as the Voracle, a gateway to many other vistas and worlds, which is now, by peculiar circumstances, locked in its passage to a place known as Earth. "Oh," replies Delias, "I remember that story." "As well you should," Delias Ravenspur admits Lisk. "As well you should." Delias boasts that he's going to the Voracle one day to vault clean across its abyss. "You're not," Parian challenges. "That's deranged." Delias admits it is. Quite mad. Just like Feshcryft. Brage watches Tybane close, who, with his tool, has worked out a seam in one of the decorative rock walls to now resemble a door. Brage asks Ty what right he has to defile his father's halls. "Please," Tybane retorts, "spare me your ego and pomp." He instead asks Brage to blow a breath on the seam. Brage frowns, not used to being told to do something. Tybane steps aside, leaving Brage curious. He leans, bends over, and blows slightly on the seam. It parts. Tybane motions to have Brage continue along the seam. As he does, the entire doorway Ty outlined falls away. Brage and the others look on amazed. Tybane explains he didn't do it. Feshcryft did. The blacksmith once captured hold of Brage's mother's breath and wove it into the stone here. Ty guessed the spell might work for her son as well. Tybane enters the door of rock. Brage follows along with the others. Parian casts an excited glance inside, as monstrous Grolt eyes silently creep up after them. The 6 of them emerge into a circular chamber, where in the center, suspended in midair upon a wide dais, floats an etherical key in all its glory. 5 feet high, quartz-like glass, swirling colored fluid in pulsating flame, edges chiseled with thousands of shanks. Each of them are captivated by the object's beauty. Brage stares, however, with a mix of curiosity and indignation. "Magnificent," says Elisgar. Tybane wasn't lying. "We really shouldn't be here," notes Delias. Parian asks if one of these pillar-like keys can really open the Voracle to someplace else. Tybane claims Feshcryft told him of their power. He said only the High Hosts themselves, or those they choose, can wield the key's might. That's why the Pyarch stole them, adds Brage, before they were recovered again, and why she so desires them back. "And why is it, O noble captain's son?" asks Tybane, throwing out another dig. "Did Brage's own parents keep this hidden treasure they now stare at from him, the sole heir to Imbarcidal?" "Oh, climb off him, Tyboon," says Parian, "or whatever your name is. You are vile." In the main hall, Aurelia speaks of Parian's mixed Muriel human heredity and how he's made the best of an arduous youth. It has complicated his rapport with others, for as Elnian folk wholly trusted all other Einan, they were perhaps a bit fearful of a human who they knew nothing about. Her husband John Lockmore nods. Aurelia adds that Parian seeks the best in all of us and openly bears his heart in earnest, but is uneasy and distrustful of the short-tempered, discourteous, and disingenuous, qualities he's come to newly observe in other Einan in recent times. John Lockmore jests that it's his own mortal blood that corrupted their son. The others laugh. Aurelia reaches around John and hugs him. This exposes her other shoulder, where it's seen she's missing one arm. Results of incidents chronicled in another story for another time, concerning how John and Aurelia first met. where he assisted the Quilvian Enchantress in their own notable quest and adventure, where the rest of the exile's parents also played a part. Down below, Tybane casts a nasty side glance to Perian after calling Ty vile. As Aurelia mentioned of Perian's compatibility with some others, these two would not befriend each other so easily. Tybane crustily replies, asking who invited this Havenlock mud snail to the party anyway. He might try smacking himself for a while. As for Brage, Tybane guesses there's a crack good reason the future Captain Brage wasn't told about this key. Brage looks off with a gloom in his eyes. A long silence. He admits that his father's reasons are his own. It's obvious to them all it's not as simple as that. But Perian shoots back to Tybane asking who instead invited him. How exactly did Ty turn up living here? Karina now speaks in the main hall, all eyes pinned on her. She explains she was with child, homeless in the wilderness. Her son's time came early, the result of being unable to run anymore, hunted by a savage imp Skelgagrolt. She collapsed in the mud. Somehow her clutching hands crushed the beast's head with a huge stone as it attacked. Tybane was born there in the filth. He cried with such a rage, feeling her own. Stumbling on with her newborn for a day and night, she was luckily found by an Ambarcetal sentry. Halen adds that Karina and Ty have been with them ever since. Karina continues. Tybane was a difficult child, and still is. Angry. He does not make acquaintances easily. His father was the assassin Notchford Craw, a parentage Tybane resents. But Karina has always known her son has a good heart. He does. He only needs to find the right friend or friends to unbury it. And now, below, in the Ambarcetal key chamber room, there is a gurgling shout, followed by others all round the 6 childlings. From the dark, ferocious growths, horned, thin, and spindly, rush at them, all with curved and hooked steel. But surprisingly, especially as they afterwards recalled, the 6 of them, as if on instinct, fall into each other, their backs together to face this threat. As they do, Tybane shoves his sharp tool into the head of the closest growth, downing the beast. Moments later, the 6 of them are surrounded. But there's another shout from the passage entrance. An old dwarf leaps out at them, armed with a sword in each hand. It's mid-40s Feshcryft, the blacksmith. He shouts, "They are childlings, let them be." His 2 swords blaze, moving with otherworldly speed and dexterity, like sleight of hand. Years later, Tybane noted how this appeared for the first time to him. It seemed the blades themselves somehow amplified the dwarf's skill. Feshcryft takes down 3 grolts, until he's shanked in the back by 2 groltish horns, while 2 more thrust their blades through his chest. He falls. Rage leaps forth for Feshcryft's fallen steel. He shouts, "Weapons! Blades!" "He is our only child," begins Halen, in the contrast and quiet of the main hall, oblivious to her son's present circumstances. "And he will be the next captain of Ambarcetal. Wise and courageous, Brage is a natural leader like his father." Now, throughout many of Ambarcetal's corridors, sentries and clove knights rush ahead with weapons thrust out. They are overpowered by the Grolt's greater numbers. Curved blades slash through the knights' ranks. Many are bored and ran through by Grolt horns. Next to Halen, Galantine appears not as sure of his wife's convictions concerning their son. "But Melitar Brage will face many trials against our enemies," he begins, "and must command a formidable trust and loyalty to keep us united. And yet I am torn here. The long years that I've been taken with command of the Emberclove weigh heavy. Since my son's birth I have been remiss as his father. The time has come." I shall make it up to Melitor. Suddenly, there is the not-too-distant sound of a clash of arms from just outside the main hall. Galantine stands along with the other leaders. On their faces is stung a sudden realization. In those same moments, down in the key chamber, Brage is tackled hard by 3 Grults before he can grab any swords to fight. He wrestles against them. Perian and Eliscar also try for Feshgriff's blades, but they are seized and savagely pinned down and held before they can. Tybane rushes to Feshgriff, whose jaw twitches under the Dwaric's imperial beard. His hands and fingers desperately reach out towards the rock wall of the chamber. Tybane understands. With all his strength, he tries to push Feshgriff. He moves him a few feet, but not close enough to the wall, until another Grult slams into him, heaving Feshgriff hard against the stone. Tybane is wrenched away from the Dwaric and pulled to his feet, but the Old One's eyes focus on Ty. "Goodbye, my angry friend," he says to Tybane. "Submit and live today. Work the secrets I've taught you. You are now the last to know the age-old disciplines. Work them. Work them." The Dwaric form of Feshgriff merges, somehow carving, chiseling into the rock wall until he's gone. Along with Ty, Thiel, Delias, and the rest are swiftly tied up. 4 of the larger Grults lift and heave the etherical key out from the mid-air dais and carry it off. As always, I want to kindly thank you for spending some time with me and the Exiles. Please do come back to learn what will befall these 6 soon-to-grow-up young heroes in Sequent 5, The Exiled. Until then, goodwill to you, one and all.